All right, folks, welcome back into another edition of the High School Huddle, your one-stop shop for everything and all things Section 5 sports. I'm AJ Feldman. He's Carl Jones. We are back for our last kind of time focusing, thinking about high school sports till the PGA Championship is over, which is about to consume all of our lives. But we got one more huddle for you. It's going to be a good one, Carl.
Oh yeah. I can't wait to deliver another excellent episode for the good people at home. But like you said, though, the next upcoming week is going to be golf, and then some more golf. It's going to be a hell of a week, but I can't wait for it.
Yeah, the championship week, of course, kind of kicks into full gear on Monday with the tournament starting up on Thursday, wrapping up on Sunday. If you haven't seen our thousands of promos that we've been airing for the last month or so, we do a weekly show every night at 7 o'clock, PGA Championship tonight. You can catch that on Channel 8. I think we'll post most of the clips to rochesterfirst.com. And then if you live anywhere in New York State or the surrounding states, I think there's some Pennsylvania markets, stuff like that, you can also get us there. So if for some reason you're listening to us from far away, congratulations. You can finally catch us on your TV, probably on your CBS station. If you know who your next star affiliate is, hats off to you. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. Carl, this will be your first golf tournament, both covering it in general. I've been to two previous as a fan, but this will be my first time covering in the media. What are you kind of most looking forward to here?
Oh man, it's a lot. I mean, first off, the food. I'm not gonna lie to you. I know country clubs. I've always been told the food over there is exquisite. So that's one thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm thinking like, what they cooking up over there at Oak Hill? Excited for that. But also just to see like the amount of people that's going to be there. I've been hearing, thousands upon thousands of people that are going to be there over the 7-day span. And I don't know, I've been over at Oak Hill a lot over the past month or so. I mean, the past several months, just watching how they constructed everything and put things together. And I'm like, man, are they really going to fit thousands of people here? So once again, for the people at home, I've never been to a golf tournament, never seen one, nothing like that. So this is going to be like throwing me into the deep end of what golf is supposed to look like. I've never even seen a high school tournament for that matter. So it's going to be a fun experience. Might be a little overwhelming, but I mean, who cares? Like, dive into the deep end, sink or swim, my man.
Yeah, I have been to two, as I mentioned. I went to the 2013 when it was back there. I was still in my high school, my junior day, so I got the free junior ticket. So I got to go for free. Went Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then when I did a semester out in Los Angeles, I went to the Genesis Open one year. Dustin Johnson won that year. I will say, I think the one thing that you might not be expecting is that it's going to smell like cigars all week long. You will not imagine. There's just going to be an aura in the air. It's going to be like kind of on your clothes all week. Like you forgot. I have we got thousands and thousands of people here. A lot of people enjoying their cigars at the golf course. That's one thing you can look forward to, but I'm looking forward to it a lot. I'm hoping, 2003 was Sean McKeel, a no-name, a great story, great guy. I've met him before. Jason Duffner in 2013. At the time, we thought he was maybe on this rise. He kind of fell off. I'm really hoping for a big name winner. I know we all are, we get a big name winner in this thing, hopefully the weather's good as well, but I think we're all looking forward to that as well. So, lots to look forward to on the PGA Championship side, but before we get to that next week when we will not have a show, it's time to get into the meat and potatoes of our huddle. Carl, why don't you lead us off with your team of the week?
When you knock off the remaining undefeated team in Section 5, I got to give you some love. Shout out to the Canandaigua girls lacrosse team, taking down Rush-Henrietta this past week, 8-4. It was 4-3 at the half, so, both teams bringing they medal to the table, competing. And then they pulled away in the second half, only allowing one Rush-Henrietta to go. And as we've both seen them over the past several years, that's an explosive squad with a bunch of talented ladies over there. So to hold them to just one goal over 25 minutes is very impressive. McKenna Krause got a hat trick. Shout out to her for doing so. And then, of course, if I'm talking about the Braves, Hannah Davis is going to be in the picture somehow, some way. Of course, she did her thing again with a goal and 4 assists. She's second in Section 5 in points this year. Once again, she's only a junior, so if you haven't caught her yet, be sure that you go to a Canandaigua game. Maybe sectional time is the perfect time to do so. She's not the tallest thing out there. Don't get twisted. If you think she out there like bullying everyone, running around, nah. She ain't that tall, but don't mistake that for like not being talented, because she's gonna be the best one out there 9 times out of 10. So Excellent player in that right. Liv Shore also with a goal in that game. They're 12-2, but they don't have a loss to any Section 5 team, so that shows their dominance within the section. They're in Class B. They will not meet Rush-Henrietta in the postseason. Rush-Henrietta competes in Class A. I mean, if this was like a fight for who was the top dog in Rochester this year, I think Canandaigua put their foot down and said everyone's looking up to us this year. They will have a couple tough tests before sectional play. Victor, always a rivalry game. Victor's always solid, and I believe they play Fairport as well, who's not going to lay over either. So Canandaigua, got to give you your flowers for knocking off RH. We gave them their flowers early in the year for their impressive win, I believe, over Victor. So the tables have turned. Canandaigua, my team of the week.
Yeah, you mentioned that schedule closing down the stretch. That is a murderer's row of Section 5 to end off the season. Obviously, as you mentioned, beating RH. Then they got Victor and Fairport, both teams who are, if they're not going to be favorites in their respective brackets, they're going to be pretty darn close. Canandaigua also with a nice win over Pittsford, 8-7 in late April. So like you mentioned, this is a team undefeated still in Section 5 play. It's probably going to come down to between them and Victor, though there might be some teams knocking on the door, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. But yeah, and like you mentioned, Hannah Davis puts on a show. And you mentioned how she's not, the biggest character in the world. I remember shooting her freshman year, and she doesn't look that all similar from when she did in her freshman year. Like, she was getting it done alongside her sister, McKenna, and she was like the second banana there. But still, like, if you like told me she was a freshman, like, all right, I can kind of believe it. But like you said, she is just dynamic. She's, she's crafty. She can make some passes. She's just a great all-around player.
Very exciting to watch. And I said it once and I'm gonna say it again. Please go catch a Canandaigua game. She's what they call softball. She's one of those.
My team of the week, I'm going to the softball diamond with a team that I don't know we've talked about ever on the podcast. The Rush-Henrietta softball team, kind of a squad that in the past couple of years have been perfectly in like the middle ground of the Class AA standings. They would lose to the top dogs. They would beat up on the teams below them. Very much, a 4 seed, a 5 seed. And it kind of seemed like they were going to be in that same category early in the season. But the last week and a half or so, they have put Section 5 on notice. They have opened out to a 12-4 record to start the season, now forming kind of a trio atop the Section 5 standings with Schrader and Victor. And the thing that, of course, caught my attention was their victory on Tuesday against Schrader, a 6-5 victory. They were down 5-3 in this game. They came away with the comeback victory. Katie Militello with the walk-off single. It scored 2, the other run coming home on an error. Beat him 6-5. Olivia Sheffer with 3 hits in that game. Kaden Hartle, the winning pitcher. And they've been on a tear of late. They beat Spencerport 10-5 a day earlier. On the 6th, which is on Saturday, they did take a loss to Schrader, but that was in 9 innings, a 6-5 game. So they once again pushed the defending state champs in Class A to the brink of defeat there. And then on Friday, they beat Fairport 4-3, another really good team. Sheffer 2-3, 2 and 3 at the plate in that game. 2 for 3, excuse me. One of those words were eventually going to be right. They scored 3 in the 6th inning. And then a couple days earlier on the 3rd, a 12-9 win over Thomas, a team that we've obviously talked about before, coming off their win over Schrader. 12-9 over Thomas. Sheffer, 5 for 5 at the plate. 2 RBIs. Elizabeth Ranella hitting a home run in the game. hitting about 600 on the year, which is hitting about 600 on the year, which is very impressive, not super unprecedented for softball. These top sluggers really get at it, but that is one heck of a slash line for Miss Sheffer. They do have 2 losses on their record to Victor, the other team, right there at the top. However, their last loss to them was just by 1 run. So it's going to be a fight to the finish to see who gets that 1 seed, because it seems like that 1 seed is going to be very important in Class AA softball this year between those 3 schools. But Rush-Henrietta bursting onto the scene, making themselves a statement to be a contender in Class AA.
And you love as a team going into postseason play how you can rank yourself. You look at the other teams. Okay, who what's the path to least resistance, right? Obviously, you're a competitor that you can beat anyone, but you're a realist at the end of the day. You take down the top dogs, you're like, all right, we feel good. And even though you do have 2 L's to victor on your resume, like you said, the most recent one was by 1 run. Why shouldn't RH feel as confident as anyone in Class AA that they can come out of here on top? That's a huge resume booster. Even the one, I remember the game that they lost to Schrader. I believe I was going to do something for Player of the Week in that game with their Schrader's pitcher who pitched a complete game. But I'm like, RH, they doing this? This how they coming this time of year? So, like, I got to give them their flowers, man. Shout out, good pick with that.
Yeah, and they're going to most likely go into the Section 5 playoffs on a hot streak. They have 4 games remaining on their schedule. Not one of those teams has a winning record so far this season. Mercy could give them a little bit of a test, but in all likelihood, based on how they fared so far this season, I think RH is going to go into the postseason on what extending out to be will be a 6-game winning streak. So they're going to have a lot of confidence going into sectional playoff time. Moving on, Carl, your eyes on you team, a team grabbing your attention, a team that maybe we should be aware of that we haven't paid attention to quite just yet this year.
Yeah, the Irondequoit Eagles boys lacrosse squad. We dibble-dabble with a little bit earlier this year in their game of the week, and we talked about their resume, right? We were like, oh, they got a bunch of close losses, whatever. They have 6 losses this year, 7-6 record. 6 losses by a combined 8 runs. I know the parents over there. I know y'all hearts hurting. I know like all that over there. I mean, I don't know how y'all keep playing these close games in the 4th quarter. They've won a couple close ones, so it's not like they always come up on the short end of the stick. But I mean, these losses are Pittsford, Canandaigua, Penfield, Quaid, all really, really darn good teams here in Section 5. But they've won 4 out of their last 5, including a really good win over a really darn good HFL squad down there, I believe in Class C. So, Irondequoit has the capability of raising their game to that level. They struggled out of the gates, obviously, out of last year's sectional final loss to, I believe, Canandaigua. So you're like, all right, is this team falling off? I don't think that's the case. They just needed to get their footing a little bit, younger team, so not as experienced. So they got to learn how to win in those close games. And, I mean, these games don't get any tighter. There are overtime losses. These are games where they were lost in the final minute of the game. I don't know how these parents' blood pressure, hearts, I don't know how they taking these games, all right? But Irondequoit, Aiden Greco, the head honcho over there, 46 points. Cooper Moore, I remember calling him as an 8th grader last year. Doing his thing this year, 25 goals on the season. They got some guys who can get the job done. Jonah Carrier is also another one, 18 goals on the year. They probably not messing with the top dog Victor, and I mean rightfully so. But if they get the right draw, they can for sure meet them in the sectional final, depending on how the draw goes. Because they did take Canandaigua, who's probably the 2nd team in that classification, to the wire at the early on in the year. So Irondequoit, I'm not sleeping on y'all whatsoever.
Yeah, and they're going to get a chance to prove themselves, maybe get that real big win that they've been hoping for. Coming down the stretch, they play Spencerport later tonight as we record this on Thursday night. And then on Saturday, they're going to get Victor. So 2 good chances to get that real statement win. I was at that Irondequoit HFL game. Like you mentioned, a real quality win by the Eagles, where they did kind of seem in control for a lot of the game. So it was a very close game, but I never really thought that HFL was super threatening. They got it down to like 2, but I think Irondequoit was definitely the better team of those 2. And like you mentioned, last year they were kind of very young. This year they're still a little young, but they do have some nice leadership. Dan Buckley, a senior. You mentioned Aiden Greco, a senior. So they've got some guys coming back. Their goalie Nick Lepiani is a senior. So Cooper Moore is going to be coming up for a while. So we'll see exactly maybe if his senior year is the kind of the year for Irondequoit to fully come back. But I think like you mentioned, Irondequoit is going to be a tough out in the postseason, no matter where they get seeded.
I haven't caught them this year, but I would definitely want to catch one of their games. Obviously, at this point, it'll be postseason play.
And then I'm going to have my eyes on a team that I had my eyes on yesterday in a victory over Penn Yan. The Mercy Monarchs took down the Penn Yan Mustangs, the Mighty Mustangs from Class D. I think they won 14-10. Varsity Media had a stream. They called it at 14-10. But the paper and girlslax.com said 13-10. But either way, they took down Penn Yan yesterday. A really impressive effort against the Mustangs. Penn Yan jumped out to a 3-1 lead. And then Mercy just kind of took over from there. They scored 6 of the last 7 goals in the first half to take a 7-4 lead into the half. And then they kind of coasted from there to win by either 3 or 4 goals. I'm pretty darn sure it was 14-10. I trust Jeff DeVeronica, his ability to read. He's a standout guy. I bet his mother taught him to read very well, so I'm going to trust him. But yeah, and Maddie Fitzgerald really stood out to me in that game. She had 4 goals all in the first half. Really just taking over, every single time they were on offense, it was kind of running through Maddie Fitzgerald in that first half. She was doing some great things. Not even their leading goal scorer on the season so far, Olivia Lachetti, with 28 goals on the year. But a diverse attack, as we always like to highlight, 5 players with at least 17 goals on the year. They also just came off a pretty nice win over Aquinas, 15-11, taking down the Hinchcliffe sisters. Earlier in this season, their second game of the year, they took Canandaigua right to the wire. They lost 8-7, so obviously a really strong showing there. And then they beat Penfield earlier in the season, 8-6. In Class B, it's definitely Victor and Canandaigua, obviously 1-2. I'm not going to really ruffle anybody's feathers by saying that. But like I just mentioned, they took Canandaigua right down to the wire. They did suffer a tough loss to Victor, 16-7. But Mercy might slot into that number 3, number 4, depending on how the seeding and their standings work out, because they do play a decently difficult schedule. But Mercy is a team that you're not going to have any easy outs so far when we get to postseason playoff time.
No, and they got a couple games on their schedule, Irondequoit, Brighton, Schrader, where if they take care of business in those games, they'll have a nice little 5-game streak heading into the postseason, momentum booster, feeling good into the most important time of the year. Definitely not a team that neither Canandaigua nor Victor is just going to just put in marker a win at all. So the Monarchs for surely are deserving of the recognition.
Yeah, and right before they took down Aquinas, they did suffer 3 straight losses to HFL, Rush-Henrietta, and Fairport, 3 teams at basically the top of their respective classes. So it'll be nice for them to build some momentum coming into the postseason. And we got a lot of games coming up in the near future, which we are looking forward to, but we will, of course, not be at because we'll be at Oak Hill from just about sunrise to sunset. But Carl, for those of the people listening at home who will not be residents of Oak Hill Country Club for literally the next week, what should people have their eyes on?
Go over to the baseball diamond, head over to Pittsford Sutherland on Monday, 5 p.m. The Knights will be hosting Athena, 2 of the top teams in Class A. Athena competes in A1, Sutherland in A2. It's going to be a rematch of last year's sectional final in A2, I believe. Sutherland took it to them, beat them 14-2. So Athena in the back of their head. They haven't met at all this year. So they've been that nice little pit in your stomach for the past 11 months. You get the chance to take it out on the Knights this upcoming Monday. Sutherland is basically locked up in A2 as the 1 seed, so they don't have to worry about falling if they were to lose this game. But Athena is still competing with, I believe, Churchville Childlife for that top spot in A1. So getting this win will be huge for Athena in terms of the standings. And also just getting back on track. They're 1-2 in their last 3 games, so they will love to get some good mojo heading down in this crunch time of year. So yeah, Athena, Sutherland, you want to see some high quality baseball, head on over to Sutherland Monday at 5.
Yeah, these baseball teams really able to kind of start rounding into gear as the weather is turned. We had that kind of miserable stretch where, nobody can really build up momentum. So now these teams starting to get some games made up, things like that. Should be a good one for sure. I'm going to the lacrosse field for my game of the week. This game will be on Tuesday, May 16th. Rush-Henrietta taking on Pittsford, a Class A showdown at RH. Both teams, like I mentioned, near or at the top of the Class A standings. And I think this is really important for me because this is kind of a prove-it game for Rush-Henrietta. They're on a really nice winning streak. They've won their last 8 games. They're going to take on Greece before this. That should be, if they take care of business, that should be a 9-game winning streak. However, Rush-Henrietta really doesn't have the standout statement win on their resume so far. They lost to Victor 8-5, another team probably going to be right at the top of that Class A standings. They lost 17-11 to Victor early in the season. Those were 2 of their first 3 games of the year. But they've kind of, picked up a groove against some of these middle tier teams. They took down Hilton in overtime. They beat a really good small school in Livonia Avon. You know, they beat Fairport, even though they're a little down this year. Schrader, Penfield, kind of the same thing. So RH is kind of building something. Now this is going to be their chance to really get that statement victory heading into the postseason. Pittsford, of course, only one loss in Section 5 play. That was, of course, to Victor in overtime. Pittsford's also going to get Canandaigua on Friday, so a nice little 1-2 punch for the Panthers. But this will be a really good game for RH to see if, Mikey Valent and the boys are going to have a real good chance to make a run in that Class A postseason.
I always wonder this time of year where it's like the top dogs in the respective classification meet up late. How much do you show? But granted, I think at this point, you just want to compete and win. You really don't care about what's coming 3 weeks away. You just want to show that the other team that like we ain't nothing to mess with, especially with RH, like you said, who doesn't really have that stamped victory on their resume. So I imagine they're gonna go all out in this one, leave no stone unturned to prove to the Panthers that come postseason time, they're nothing to mess with.
No, that game on the RH grass, so always different for the football guys, for the soccer, for lacrosse, playing on grass, just a little bit different. So maybe that'll work to their advantage. That'll do it today for us on the High School Huddle. As we mentioned numerous times, we will be all at Oak Hill next week, so we will not have a show for you next week, but we will be back 2 weeks from now. When we get back to it, we're going to be right in the heart of sectional action. Quarterfinals in some sports, sectional or semifinals in a lot of sports. So we're going to be right into the mix of things. It's going to be a rapid fire finish as we get to our our sectional championship games, our Far West regionals. Then we get on to state because as we always say, the spring sports season moves quickly compared to the dregs of the winter. But we're looking forward to covering it after we get back off of Oak Hill.
Definitely, especially with all the ups and downs we've had with, can we cover high school sports this week? PGA is happening. We can't really do it. It'll be good to see once
the weather too.
The weather, yeah, don't forget about the weather. So once PGA and weather forbidding happens this next upcoming week, and lock in on the high school action and give them the love that they properly deserve for their postseason play.
Will be a great time indeed, but it is time to break the huddle. For Carl Jones, I am AJ Fellman. Thank you very much for listening. Once again, RochesterFirst.com, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you're at the PGA Championship, feel free to say hi. We're very friendly people, except for Carl, and we will love to, we'll love to see you guys while you're out there. But that'll do it for us. We will see you in 2 weeks' time. Enjoy your golf, enjoy this great weather, and enjoy the Section 5 action.